The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Jake was sitting outside his small cabin in the mountains, drinking hot tea. He had been living alone for months. No noise, no people. Just trees, wind, and stars. But tonight something changed. A loud sound shook. The sky, it wasn't thunder. It was deeper, heavier, like metal ripping through the air. Jake looked up. A burning trail cut across the night sky, like a fireball falling from space. It was heading straight toward the woods, just beyond the ridge. Then boom. The ground shook. Birds flew out of the trees. Smoke began rising from the dark forest. Jake grabbed his jacket and flashlight. He had seen many things in his life. He was a soldier once, but nothing like this. He started walking toward the crash. The walk was long and cold, but the light from the fire helped guide him. When Jake reached the place, he stopped and stared. A spaceship, small, broken, and half buried. In the ground was burning. Strange symbols were written on its side. Not human. He walked closer, slowly, his boots crunching on broken metal. The ship had torn trees apart when it fell. Wires hung like vines. There was blood on the ground, but not red, blue. Then he heard. It got a soft, weak sound, like a whisper. Jake raised his flashlight. Something moved behind a piece of the ship. He stepped forward and froze. A girl. She was sitting on the ground, back against the metal, shaking. She had no clothes, no shoes, and no strength. Her skin was pale blue, and her hair was silver like the moonlight. Her eyes, big, glowing, full of fear. Jake dropped his flashlight in shock. The girl looked at him, terrified. She tried to speak, but only coughed. He slowly took off his jacket and knelt down. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't move. He placed the jacket around her shoulders. She was freezing. Her body had strange mark scars, burns, wounds that looked like someone had tried to cut something off her back. Jake's eyes narrowed. "Who did this to you?" The girl looked at him. Her lips trembled. Then she spoke one word, so quiet he almost didn't hear it. "Run." Jake frowned. "What?" "Run," she said again. This time louder. Suddenly, a strange sound filled the air, a low hum, almost like something searching. Watching. Jake stood up and looked around. The trees were shaking. Lights appeared in the sky, silent, cold. Not stars. Ships. Jake picked up the girl in his arms. She was too weak to walk. He ran through the trees, branches cutting his arms and face. Behind him, he heard something land. Metal feet on dirt. He didn't stop. Back at the cabin, he laid her on his couch, covered her with blankets, and locked every door. He turned off the lights. Silence filled the room again. The girl was breathing, but barely. Jake sat beside her, trying to think. Who was she? Where did she come from? Was she alone? Suddenly, she opened her eyes. Her hand reached out and grabbed his. "I escaped," she whispered. "But they will come." Jake leaned closer. "Who? Who's coming?" She looked straight into his eyes. Her voice shook. "Not aliens, not monsters, people." Jake froze. "Humans?" She nodded slowly. Then her eyes closed again. That night, Jake sat by the window with an old rifle in his lap. His mind was spinning. A girl from the stars. A ship from space. Hunters in the sky. She had nothing. No clothes. No food. No name. Just scars. And a story that hadn't even begun. Jake looked at the stars above. Something was coming, and he had just made himself part of it. Asterisk. The sound came just before sunrise. A soft beep. Then another. Then a sharp click like metal claws on wood. Jake opened his eyes. He wasn't dreaming. Something was outside the cabin. He moved quietly, not turning on the lights. His fingers wrapped around the old rifle he kept by the door. He looked through the window. Nothing but trees and fog. Then something heavy landed on the roof. Jake's breath stopped. He stepped back. heart pounding. His mind raced. The girl, was she still safe? He turned to check. She was gone. The blanket was on the floor. The door to the small storage room was open. Inside, curled up in the corner, the girl was hiding, her eyes wide with fear. She shook her head. "Don't go out," she whispered. Then the door exploded. Wood flew across the room. A shadow stepped through the smoke. Tall, black, and silent. It was not human. It looked like a person at first, but its face had no eyes, only a smooth metal plate. Wires moved like veins under its skin. A red light blinked in its chest. The girl screamed. Jake fired. The bullet hit the thing's shoulder and knocked it back. But it didn't fall. It stood straight and looked at Jake like it was remembering his face. Then it spoke, in a voice that sounded half like a machine, half like a ghost. "Return the asset." Jake didn't wait. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran out the back door. The cold air hit them hard. The trees looked darker than before. They ran. The machine didn't follow fast, but it didn't stop either. The girl tripped once. Jake picked her up again. She was still weak. Her skin was too cold, and her hands shook badly. Jake found an old tunnel near the edge of the mountain. It led to a forgotten storm shelter from before the war. He kicked the door open, pulled her inside, and locked it. Only then did he ask, "What was that thing?" The girl didn't speak at first. Then, very slowly, she said, "Hunter drone. They send it when something escapes." Jake stared at her. "You mean you escaped from them?" She nodded. "They made me, trained me, but I ran. I couldn't do what they wanted." He knelt beside her. "Who are they?" She hesitated. Then she reached into the dirt and started drawing. A planet, a base, and something above it, ships with Earth symbols. Jake's face changed. He recognized those symbols. "They're human." He whispered. She looked away. "Yes." Jake felt cold in his bones. "So, it wasn't aliens who hurt you, it was us." The girl didn't answer. He sat back. His mind was full of questions. She was not just some alien girl. She was something created, maybe part human, part alien, part machine. And the people who built her were still out there, watching, hunting, and they had found her. Jake stood up and checked the door. The outside was quiet, but he knew it wouldn't last. He turned back to her. "If I help you, they'll come for me too." She looked at him. Her eyes were tired. "They'll kill you." He nodded slowly. "Maybe, but I'm not leaving you." She stared at him for a long time. No one had ever said that to her before. Jake sat beside her. He gave her water, an old jacket, and part of a candy bar he found in his bag. She didn't know what it was, but she smiled when she tasted it. It was the first time he saw her smile, but deep down, they both knew the truth. This wasn't over. The hunter wasn't the only one coming, and she wasn't the only one who had escaped. The voice came through static. "Jake, is that really you?" He hadn't heard that voice in years. Jake stood in the cold, broken bunker with an old military-cum device pressed to his ear. It had taken him hours to fix it, hours of hoping someone was still listening on the old frequencies. "I need help," he said. Someone crash-landed. She's not human. But she's not alien either." There was a long silence. Then the voice replied, "You found one." Jake's heart sank. "What do you mean one?" But the connection was already breaking. Static returned. The line went dead. Behind him, the girl sat quietly, hugging her knees. Her skin had started changing color, faint purple along her arms. Her body was healing, but her mind was still full of fear. She looked up at Jake. "You called someone?" Jake nodded. "An old friend, ex-soldier. He knows about black projects." The girl didn't smile. She seemed smaller than before, even in the silence. Then slowly she began to speak. "They built me in a lab. Not born, grown." Jake listened. "I had no name, no past. Only pain, tests, training. I could move faster than a human. Hear things you can't. Learn anything in seconds. They called me holotype. I was their weapon. Jake asked, who are they? She stared at the floor. A human colony. Far from Earth, secret. They say they left Earth to start over. But they lied. Jake sat beside her. Why did you run? She didn't answer right away. Then, with trembling fingers, she pulled up her sleeve. Tiny numbers were burned into her skin. A barcode. They told me I would help save lives, she said. But then they gave me a target. Children, civilians, I refused. So they locked me away. Jake felt his hands curl into fists. She continued. A scientist helped me escape. He believed I was more than a weapon. He died so I could run. Jake looked out the small window of the bunker. Snow was falling now, gentle, cold, quiet, but the world outside wasn't quiet anymore. Your memory's coming back, he said. She nodded. Piece by piece. Do you know where they are? She grabbed a piece of metal and scratched a star pattern into the wall. Jake stared at it. This isn't our sky. No, she whispered. It's theirs. Then, as if pulled by something, inside her, she walked to the corner of the room and sat. Her body trembled. Her eyes rolled back. She began to whisper words in a language Jake didn't understand. Hey, what's happening? He rushed to her side. She opened her eyes, and they glowed for a second like light behind ice. I saw something, she said. A place, a city with black towers, a signal sent from me. They know. Jake's face turned pale. You mean you sent something? Not on purpose. It's built into me. If I remember too much, I broadcast. Jake stood up. We need to move, but she didn't stand. I'm tired, she said. Always running, always afraid. Jake looked down at her. You don't have to run alone anymore. Outside. Something flew across the sky. A ship, silent, watching. No lights, no sound, just a shadow moving above the trees. She wasn't the only one being hunted, and maybe, just maybe, she wasn't the only one who had escaped. The stars had disappeared. Jake stood outside the bunker, staring up at the night sky. The stars were always clear out here, bright and endless. But now, something was wrong. They weren't gone. They were blocked. A shape hovered above the forest. Huge, dark, it didn't make a sound. No lights, no signal. Just a shadow covering the stars. A ship. No, a fleet. Jake stepped back inside, his face pale. They found us, he said. The girl looked up from the floor. She had been quiet for hours, her body curled like she was trying to disappear. No, she whispered. That's not a search ship. That's a watcher, Jake frowned. What does it watch? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the wall and touched the metal. Her fingers left behind a faint glow. A map appeared, lines and points, moving stars, shifting paths. Jake stared. How are you doing that? It's part of me, she said. Memory, code. I was built to store. Data. Hidden data. Jake stepped closer. What kind of data? She hesitated. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. War crimes. Jake's chest tightened. The map showed planets, colonies, civilian zones. All marked in red. They used me to destroy. She said, but I wasn't the only one. There are others. My sisters, my brothers, all created to kill without question. Jake looked at the floating symbols. How many? Thousands. He sat down hard on a metal box, like the weight of her words had hit his spine. All that, he whispered. And no one on Earth knows? She nodded. Earth thinks the colony is peaceful, a new start. But behind the walls, they are building monsters. Jake's hands curled into fists. Why? Control, she said. Fear. They believe the galaxy will only listen if it's afraid of. Humans, he stood. Then we send proof. The girl looked at him. How? Jake walked to the old control board. If we can find a tower high enough, strong enough, we can send your memory to Earth Command. Everything you remember. Everything they did. She didn't speak. Her eyes looked distant. Jake noticed her breathing was slow. Her skin, once smooth, now looked cracked around the joints, like something inside her was breaking. What's wrong? He asked. She looked at him. My time is short. They built me with a limit. Jake froze. What kind of limit? If I'm captured, I explode. If I escape too far, I break. Jake stepped closer. There has to be a way to stop it. There isn't. He said nothing. Outside, the sky darkened again. Another ship passed. Slowly. Watching. Then. A loud knock. Jake grabbed his rifle. It wasn't the hunter this time. The girl's eyes widened. I know that knock. The door opened, and a tall figure in an old pilot uniform stepped in. His eyes scanned the room, then landed on her. I thought you were dead, he said. She stood slowly. You helped me escape. Jake watched, confused. The man nodded. I was part of the colony's flight team. I smuggled out footage, evidence. It's hidden, but it's not safe for long. Jake stepped forward. Then help us send it. The man nodded. He opened a bag and pulled out a small cube. Jake watched as a screen lit up, footage played, a battlefield, smoke, screams, and her, the girl walking through fire. Her voice echoed, strange and sharp. Everything around her shattered. Buildings fell. Soldiers dropped to their knees. Jake turned to her. She looked away. I didn't want to do it, she said. They used my voice, my body, my mind. Jake whispered, that's not you anymore. She looked at him, her eyes full of something strange. Hope. But above them, the Watcher ships still floated in silence. Waiting. And soon they would move. Smoke rose from the trees before Jake saw the fire. He smelled at first burning wood, melting metal, and something else. Something wrong. By the time he reached the edge of the hill, the cabin was gone, ash and black beams. A small place, once safe, now destroyed. The girl stood beside him, silent. Her silver hair moved in the wind, but her face didn't change. They found it, she said. Jake didn't answer. He knew who had done it. The hunter. He had no name. Just a face made of skin stretched too tight. A voice made of steel and code. Not fully machine, not fully human. A weapon sent to retrieve another weapon. And now he was here. They won't stop, she said. They want me alive. But not for long. Jake turned to her. Why not kill you already? She looked down. Because I know where the others are. Jake's breath caught. Others like you? She nodded. Some were destroyed. Some are still asleep. I know their locations. And their weaknesses. Jake grabbed her hand. Then we keep running. But it was already too late. The trees behind them shook, not from wind, from footsteps. Heavy. Calm. Closer. Jake pulled her back. Go, I'll stop him. No, she said, you'll die. Jake loaded his rifle anyway. I've died before, she blinked. What? He smiled, just a little. I got better. The hunter stepped through the smoke like it didn't exist. His skin was smooth, fake, too perfect. His eyes were black glass. He wore human clothes, but they didn't move right on him, too tight across the shoulders, too stiff in the arms. He stopped 10 feet away. Return the unit, he said. Jake raised his rifle. She's not a unit. The hunter didn't blink. You are not a target, Jake Carter. Do not become one. Jake didn't lower his gun. Behind him, the girl started to glow again, soft light, running under her skin like fire and glass. Her hands shook. Her breath quickened. No, she whispered. Not now, Jake turned. What's happening? If I use my power again, the kill switch may trigger. The hunter tilted his head. Then you will burn, and I will retrieve your code from ash. Jake stepped between them. You'll have to go through me first. The hunter moved. Faster than Jake had ever seen. The rifle flew from his hands. His body hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his ribs. The hunter lifted him by the throat. "You are brave," he said. "But that ends now," Jake choked. His vision blurred, then a scream, not from fear, not from pain, from her. The girl's voice ripped through the trees like a blade. The hunter staggered, his grip loosening. Jake dropped to the ground, gasping. The girl stepped forward. Her eyes were white-hot. Her skin lit up with symbols, data, patterns, words in a dead code. She spoke, and the ground shook. The hunter raised a hand, shielding his face. "Enough," she said, her voice not her own. "You will not take me." The hunter backed away. For the first time, he looked uncertain. Then he turned. He ran. Jake coughed and stood slowly. What was that?" The girl's glow faded. She dropped to her knees. "I used too much," she whispered. "I can't hold it back anymore." Jake rushed to her side. "You saved me." She looked at him, eyes dull now. "I didn't want to. I wanted to run." "Then why didn't you?" "Because," she said, "you stayed for me. No one ever did that before." Jake held her as she shook. Not from fear now, but from power she didn't want and memory she couldn't stop. Above them, the sky began to rumble again. The hunter was gone, but others were coming. And next time, they wouldn't just want her, they'd want him too. The girl was dying. Jake could feel it. Not because of blood or wounds. There was no blood, no visible injury. But something inside her was failing, piece by piece. Her glow had faded. Her voice was soft, dry. Her hands, once steady, now shook with every breath. She lay on the floor of an old Cums tower. They had climbed all night, through forest, through cold, past rivers and dead machines, until they found this place. The last working link to Earth. Command. She hadn't spoken since the fight with the hunter. Jake stayed close, building a signal booster from broken tech. His hands moved fast, but his mind was heavy. He didn't want to ask. He had to. "What's happening to you?" The girl didn't move. He asked again, slower. "Tell me, please." Finally she looked at him. Her eyes were tired and full of something else. Not fear. Guilt. "They didn't just build me to fight," she said. "They built me to end everything if they failed." Jake froze. She took a breath. "Inside me is a kill switch. A final command. If I'm captured, or if I go too far off course, my body shuts down, then explodes." He looked at her like she was a bomb with a heart. "How long?" he asked. She didn't know. Maybe minutes. Maybe hours. Maybe already counting. Jake knelt beside her. "Can it be stopped?" She shook her head. "Only one person had the code. He's gone." The silence after that felt like the sky was falling. Jake pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm not letting you die. Not after all this." "You don't get to stop it," she said. "Then I'll break it," he replied. "Rip it out if I have to." Her lips almost smiled. "You're stubborn." "I was a soldier," he said. "Then I became a ghost, but you made me feel real again." She closed her eyes. "Jake, I have one more secret." He waited. She reached into the side of her arm and pressed hard. A small panel opened. Hidden. Inside it was a chip. Glowing blue. "This is everything," she said. "The crimes, the locations, the files. They hid them in me, hoping no one would ever find it. You can send this to Earth. Even if I die, the truth won't." Jake stared at the chip. He didn't take it. Instead, he closed the panel again. "I'm not sending anything unless you live to see it." Suddenly, the tower shook. Jake grabbed his rifle. "What now?" The girl sat up, weak but alert. "They're jamming the signal," she said. "They know where we are." Below the tower, small ships began landing. 6 of them. No lights. No markings. Jake looked out the window. Not hunters. Not machines. Humans. Armed. Silent. Trained. They had come to finish what they started. He turned back to her. Then we fight. Asterisk, the signal had already been sent. They were just too late. 6 black-clad soldiers stood at the base of the tower, staring up at the broken metal walls. Their helmets glowed red. No names, no ranks. Just orders above them. Jake held the rifle with one hand, the girl's body against his side with the other. "She's not ready to die," he said. "She was never meant to live," one of them replied. No warning. No talk. They opened fire. The tower exploded with sound. Jake pulled her behind a wall. Bullets punched through rusted steel. Sparks flew. The old structure groaned like it might fall. He turned to her. "We hold this place. They can't stop the signal now, right?" She nodded slowly. "The data went out. But we don't know who's listening." Jake gave a sharp smile. "We'll give them something to hear." She pulled the chip from her arm again. "You should take this. If I go down, you run." Jake pushed it back. "If you go down, we go together." Her eyes, weak and full of light, locked with his. "Why?" "Because you're not a weapon to me," he said. "You're someone who tried to do the right thing. That makes you more human than anyone out there." Another blast shook the tower. One of the soldiers had brought up a portable cannon. The stairwell collapsed. Jake and the girl had nowhere to go now. She touched her chest. A soft light blinked. "The switch is close," she whispered. Jake pressed his forehead to hers. "Then, let's make it count." And she stood, not shaking, not scared. Her voice rose not in fear, but in defiance. She stepped out into the light, her skin glowing with symbols, her eyes blazing with memory. The soldiers aimed, but she spoke first. A word, in a language not meant to be heard. The air split. The guns turned to dust. The ground cracked. 2 soldiers dropped. Jake ran to her side. Her legs buckled. The light in her chest flickered faster. "You can't do this again," he said. "You'll burn." She looked at him. "I was already burning, but now I burn for something." Her body shook. Jake held her tight. "That's enough. You made your point." But it wasn't her voice anymore that answered. The sky did, above the smoke. Clouds parted. Ships. Not colony ships. Earth. Ships. Big. Bright. Heavy with armor. They had heard the signal, and they had come. Jake stared up, eyes wide. The lead ship dropped a line of soldiers, real ones. Flags of Earth on their arms. Orders were clear. Secure the girl. Protect the target. Stop the colony agents. The black-clad soldiers below tried to run. They didn't make it far. The Earth soldiers took them down fast, clean. Practiced. Jake looked down. The girl was in his arms. Her eyes barely open. "You did it," he said softly. "You stopped them." "No," she whispered. "We just started something bigger." He nodded. "And we'll finish it. Together." Her lips curved into the smallest smile. Then she closed her eyes. The light in her chest dimmed. Her breathing slowed. Jake held her for a long time. Above them, the sky was full of Earth's ships. Below them, the truth had already begun to spread. Governments were waking up. The colony would fall. And one girl who came with nothing, no clothes, no name, no hope, had changed everything. Jake looked at the rising sun and whispered the words no one had said to her before. "You mattered."